Today we are going to have a discussion on cyber information digital security as a career option. With us is today a very esteemed guest and an expert, I would rather say almost an authority on the subject. Our guest for today is Captain Ashok B. Shirur, served with the Air Defense for 5 years. Then after that, he has been in the information security, cyber security, digital security industry for now almost 3 decades. He's an entrepreneur. He has his own business by the name of Micros, and his firm specializes in these aspects. It won't be too big an exaggeration to say that Captain Shiru is one of the pioneers of information security, and he got into that business when people have not even heard of this. So today we are going to gain his wisdom on the changing aspects and what exactly we'll broadly touch upon as to how the industry is. Thank you so much for your time today and agreeing to join us, sir. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind, good evening and thank you.
Sir, a final question out of this. For skilling, are there any standardized certifications or accreditations you would be able to recommend to those who look to this domain?
Yes, so there are different kinds of certifications that are available. So one would be industry certifications. So you have different kinds of certificates available from organizations like say CompTIA, EC Council, then SANS, then you have CISSP. There are lots of these certifications that are available. Some of them would be paid, some of them would be free. Then you have a lot of these online providers, online education providers who offer different kinds of free certification, or at times they're also paid, but they are self-paced and they are online. So, you can actually do them without actually attend any classes. So there are a lot of certificates. CompTIA is a well-known certification. They run a certification called Security Plus. Then you have CISSP, which is Certified Information System Security Professional. You have CEH, which is Certified Ethical Hacker. Then you have EC Council as one of the authorities or the organizations that provides a wide range of trainings and certifications. So there are a lot. There are a lot of them. If I were to look at the online ones, then you have Coursera, you have edX, you have Udacity. There are lots of them.
Okay. As a senior from the industry,
this is pre-joining. But once say you join a job which is information security specific, then you might need to get into a different set of training. Then there would be vendor specific training that you would need to get into. You would need to attend conferences and events which are specific to the areas that you need to work on a day-to-day basis. So those would be a different set of things that you would need to do once you get into it. But before, you would need to come abreast with what is happening in the industry. For that, you will need these trainings and certifications.
Sir, as a senior from the industry and as a guiding question, how much time do you think one should start preparing if they want to transition into the cybersecurity role, so that they're able to cover the various aspects you said, which is about developing the understanding, putting pen to paper to map out the competencies, and also to be able to develop a network from where references can be drawn? What would be an ideal time for this preparation?
See, on an average, it would take 6 to 9 months, 6 to 9 to 12 months, not less than that. But more importantly, see, the more important thing is identifying what you want to do. Unless there is an identification of what you want to do, what's your previous educational experience, what's the current knowledge base, what is the commitment of time that you're going to be able to deliver, what are the certification requirements in what is the direction that you've chosen, what is the hands-on experience that you have. Because now, assuming that you want to get into a particular space, but you don't have any hands-on experience, how much time is it going to take for you to get that hands-on experience? So if I tell you now 6 to 12 months and if you don't have any hands-on experience, then that statement is incorrect. Then assuming that you put in the 6 to 12 months, parallelly you also want to do networking and job searching. So how is that going to affect your time commitment to what you need to do from a skill enhancement perspective? So see, there's no simple answer to this question, but on an average, 6 to 12 months is what one would need to set aside in order to skill up to get to a point where you become a decent candidate for consideration.
Given the fact that we are human beings and we, I mean, do tend to delay things, so I would, say that on the safer side, officers should start preparing at least a year prior to their transition, so that they are able to successfully transition into cybersecurity roles. Important aspect which you just now said, sir, the prior understanding or skill set, etc. Would you like to correct me if I make the statement that officers who are in more technical arms, say signals or communications, etc., are placed favorably from the industry perspective vis-a-vis the officers who are from the combat arms, you being an exception? Let's say, people like me who served with the infantry and
It's a difficult question to answer because see, someone who comes from that background at times gets has preconceived notions, has preordained ideas about things. So at times that becomes a limiting factor. Someone who doesn't come from that background at times has a very, very fresh perspective, maybe a completely out of box perspective, because it is not something that has been ingrained or has been taught. So it's a difficult question to answer, frankly. I don't come from a technical background. I'm neither a signals officer nor a engineer or a EME officer. I'm an AD officer and I'm a botany graduate. But if you look at any of the IT professionals, I mean, any major name that you take, typically they would not be qualified. But they do what they do well is because they follow logic. If you follow logic, you'd be able to do the job. But yes, I wouldn't say for certain very, very hardcore technical aspects of the job, you will need to have fundamental knowledge. If you're not an engineer, you may not understand what, for example, say the network stack is. So then how are you going to understand how to secure? Yes, there are trainings available. If you are ready to invest the time and effort, the learning curve, yes, you would be able to learn. It's not rocket science. But yes, it's a difficult question to answer.
But since you have already said, I would say that officers who are from the non-technical arms, they can, if they start preparing in earnest, put in the right kind of time and effort, they do have a fair chance of being a cybersecurity professional. My next question would be, sir, something which you said, networking. Would you be able to indicate or name a few industry associations or forums where people can network for finding guidance, information, knowledge, and also connections to find relevant jobs?
So I guess the top recommendation, the top suggestion would be LinkedIn. Being a professional network, it's possibly the best platform for networking for cybersecurity or information security professionals. Having said that, there are other platforms. For example, you have the IC2 community, which is also very, very robust. You have the OWASP community, which is also very robust. And, meetups. There are lots of meetups that happen, which are either local or which are virtual on the subject of cybersecurity or information security. So meetup.com offers a lot of these opportunities where you can have free exchanges with professionals in the space. And a lot of, good comes out of these interactions. Then you have the ISACA community. You have veteran-specific organizations which are into this space. There are enough and more platforms. You have TIE, which is the Indus Entrepreneurs, which also is a very good platform where anyone who's interested in learning about various aspects of either information security, information technology, or a lot of the owners of IT companies, IT information security companies are members. They come and give talks. They come and network. They come and exchange ideas. There is enough and more. There is enough and more.
Right, sir. Sir, my next question would be, would you say that the service officers, uniformed officers, because of the fact that they, by the dint of their experience, they develop a certain mindset which is security oriented, which has an idea of as to how threats can emerge, as to how threats can. So does that give them an advantage in cybersecurity roles also?
Yes, definitely. So, we automatically come from a perspective of, understanding threat perception. from the background, from the way in which we are groomed in the armed forces. We have the discipline, we have the ability to conform to structure, we have the leadership capability, we have the ability to get teamwork in place. We are extremely proactive in crisis management. We are trained in attention to detail. We are adaptable. We are open to training and unlearning, relearning. Security clearances at times may not be needed for certain kinds of opportunities because you already cleared, being ex-services. Ethical values, on the slightly other side of the discussion, the ethical values that an armed forces officer background brings, addresses a lot of otherwise typical challenges that you see in the civilian street. So there is significant advantage that an officer from the armed forces brings with it.
Right. Sir, I would also want to understand, although again, there are no definitive answers to this, but what kind of a position or names of the position transitioning officers can look at, and what is a typical remuneration structure for professionals in the cybersecurity?
This is a very, very broad question. It entirely depends upon the direction that the officer wants to get into. Because there are roles in sales, there are roles in customer support, there are roles in management, there are roles in consulting, there are roles in audit. So you see that there is a very high demand for cybersecurity, information security professionals. There's no question. There is a significant skill shortage also, and it becomes a very critical role in organization for it to be filled. But there are diverse career paths within the information security space. So if there is an investment into continuous learning and advancement, there is no dearth of package that an officer can expect. Of course, if the officer is oriented from either a sales or a entrepreneurial perspective, then the opportunities are much, much larger. But having said that, things like threat hunting today, the packages are huge. Just to give you an example, if one gets into a tier 1, tier 2 threat hunting kind of a role, the average take home would be anywhere between 4 to 6 lakhs a month. So the opportunities are huge. The prospects are huge.
Still, sir, I mean, if you have to give a guiding figure, a ballpark, that below this would not be an appropriate figure for an officer with, say, 10 years of experience coming out as a short service officer. That this is what one should minimum expect in terms of remuneration.
No, so that would not be the yardstick that I would typically use. It's very important to do a self-assessment to evaluate. I mean, just saying that I came out with 10 years of service and so I expect this is, at least I would not conform to that line of thought. One needs to be extremely clear today in the market, which is extremely competitive, as to what one is bringing to the table. Once one is clear that one is bringing value to the table, and in return for value, the organization needs to remunerate, then that becomes a more sound proposition. Otherwise, just saying that, no, I come with 10 years of experience, I don't bring any value to the table, I don't know the job, I learn on the job, but I still want this. I don't agree with that line of thought. I may be the devil's advocate, but that's my approach.
Right. So suffice to say, although Shiru sir has, I would say, dodged the question, but cybersecurity is a fairly well-paying field, especially if you're on the sales or business development side of things, then you can be remunerated quite well. So my last question from you would be, although it's a very growing and very vast field, but are there top 3 or 5 industries within cybersecurity which you would be able to indicate where the demand as of today is on the higher side for jobs and for professionals?
So yes, the maximum demand that we are seeing today is in the space of threat hunting, because the need for security operations center and automation of security for organizations is increasing tremendously. So the skill set gap in professionals capable of delivering threat hunting advantage to an organization from a SOC becomes huge. So that's an area where there is a large demand, which is only going to grow because the attack surface continues to increase, the number of organizations that needs to comply increases. So that demand is going to continue to increase. So that's number one. Number two would be areas like artificial intelligence bringing in value for cybersecurity, for information security. How does one use artificial intelligence to augment the capabilities of existing investments and preventing future possible problem of incidents? This would be the second area. And the third area would be anything to do with consulting, solutioning. Because most organizations today work on a very, very tight schedule, very, very tight budget. They're looking at immediate solutions. They're looking at someone who has the expertise, the breadth of understanding of solutions, and is able to bring solutions to the table at very, very short notice. So anything into solutioning, the demand in that is huge.
So from what you said, although I wanted to close, but another question pops into my mind. What would be your advice to officers who have an entrepreneurial bent of mind? Can they be looking at ventures in this space, given the fact that it's becoming big? You said consulting, so not very capital intensive if someone wants to start. Would they, or so as to say self-employment rather than going for a job? Would there be space?
Okay, so if we are looking at entrepreneurship, now there are different possibilities within entrepreneurship. So one possibility could be to set up a startup to come up with an innovation or develop something from scratch. Second could be entrepreneurship in the solutioning space, where you are stitching together solutions and delivering it as a solution for an organization. Third could be where you are just a distributor or a reseller, where you're value adding on a distribution or a reseller kind of a network, but not from a solutioning perspective. So entrepreneurship is, there are various possibilities even within entrepreneurship. It's very critical for the officer to again do a very careful self-assessment to understand whether he has the breadth of understanding on the various aspects that become the pillars of being an entrepreneur. Whether he's clear about sales, clear about services and support, clear about systems, processes, policies, clear about accounts and finance, clear about legal contract, clear about management. So there are, we believe while we are in the armed forces that, we manage people, we manage work, we manage operations, etc., etc. But when you come to Civi Street, how practical is that knowledge? How practical is that understanding is something that one needs to carefully assess. So one of the, I can again pull from the example that you keep posting on your network in respect of the entrepreneur within an organization kind of a concept. So in your company, you offer this entrepreneurship option to people who are keen to work as an entrepreneur within your organization. So that becomes a good leverage, good stepping stone to understand whether entrepreneurship is something that you can actually get into independently. You have a mothership that you test it out within, you learn the ropes, and then you evaluate whether you have what it takes to step out as an entrepreneur. Nothing stops you from being an entrepreneur. There is enough and more opportunity in the market. There is huge amount of gap. The deliveries are not in the manner that the demand is. So there is no dearth of opportunity to become an entrepreneur. But do you have it in you is important to carefully self-assess.
Right, sir. So thank you so much for your time. I'm sure the audience has gained a lot from basic understanding of the cybersecurity roles. I'm very grateful for your time, sir.